Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I'm your host, Jeremy Weber, and I am joined, as always, by the Flying Dutchman himself, Mr. Daniel Vondelak. Dan, welcome to Dutch Week. How are we doing today?
Definitely the Dutch week. It's actually not a really good week in terms of Dutch auctions, but in terms of overall market, it's been a good week. It's been looking up the last 3 days, today especially.
I think we've run the gambit on Dutch auctions this week. We saw one that went very well, we saw one that went very poorly, and we have seen one that is getting fudded to all hell. So it's been quite the week for Dutch auctions. So we'll get into that here in a second. As always, nothing that we say on today's show is financial advice. Daniel and I accept all the credit and none of the blame if things go poorly
Exactly.
in your NFT trading life. So please go ahead and like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Daniel, it's been, since we talked last, it's been up and down. The market has been all over the place, whether it's crypto, NFTs.
Yeah.
It seems like we're just in this point where if you're trying to predict what's going to happen next, you're probably shit out of luck because it is, it was funny. I saw this morning, like not to talk too much about the stock market, but like stock market futures were up because Putin said that talks were going well. And I was just like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you guys think that, I mean, it's really funny to me that we're getting positive sentiment in the market because Putin said something as if he's to be trusted here. So, that just goes to show how ridiculous the state of every market is at this moment in time.
Definitely, it's like kind of reminiscent of Elon Musk with his Dogecoin back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Putin says something or Biden says something about U.S. I don't know something, and the whole market reacts and it's going crazy and extremely volatile times, just to put it lightly.
Yeah. So right now we're just going to keep plugging away with our little cat and dog JPEGs and whatever
Exactly.
else, because those seem to be doing pretty well this week. What have you been up to as far as like buying and selling goes? I know you had the biggest purchase of your life
Yes,
yesterday. I'm really
sir.
excited to hear about it and give some your reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I bought my first NFT, and it's the Monolith, and it's rumored to be something AI, and it's the first Nike NFT in partnership with Artifact. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like, there's not too much known about it, but they showed this like family tree of like airdrops and such quite some time ago, showing there's plenty of utility coming from the monolith. So I'm looking forward to being in this whole ecosystem of Artifact.
Yeah, it's looking like you bought it at a pretty good time.
Yeah,
The price ran up to almost an average sale of 6 ETH. So there's no like rarities here. It's just one cube, and ran up to almost 6 ETH back on the 25th of February. So that was the peak, and you got yours for what, like four something?
4.4 I got it.
Okay, and it's been
Um,
pretty steady there. And all it takes is one piece of news to send
yeah,
that flying.
yeah. So just to add to it a little bit, it's going to be unlocked in 4 stages,
Okay.
and they have already completed the first two, and then the third stage is something people have to do in the sandbox, but that's not live yet. And then the fourth stage is going to be on the blockchain or something, and then the result of that is it'll like show its secrets, right? The box will open, and then something happens. Like, no one really knows. I wonder if it's actually one thing because it's an what is it, ERC 11 something, so it's like stackable.
Okay.
And
So
yeah,
Chris asking what made you buy it.
yeah. So apart from what I mentioned earlier, that there's still plenty of utility coming from it. It's also just Artifact in general. They're like, at least in my opinion, they're the collection that have brought the most value to the holders. If you look back at the very start, from the Meta Pigeon to the Mint Vial to the Clone X to the Pod to the something else
The
I forgot the name of.
they did the Ferocious collab as well.
When was that? Oh,
That
that
was that was
the
last year.
yeah, yeah. And I watched all that stuff happen, all that stuff unfold, and then like, because I you had to have this like pretty uh, pricey NFT to be eligible for Clone X, and I was like, man, that's too much money for me, because back then I was just like trading my point oh 0.08 NFTs, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And then I see them giving value after value, and then eventually I was like, I have to really enter this ecosystem, and I hope it's not too late because there's still a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon for Artifact. So that really wanted to tap in.
I think that's a good reminder for everyone of like, just because you didn't get in on the early stages of a project doesn't mean you still can't buy in and find value in it, because like I said, all it takes is one cool piece of news to send that monolith up to 10 plus ETH. Like, it wouldn't shock me. Like Artifact is setting itself up as one of the top projects in the space. We've seen it with BAYC where you can have multiple pieces of that ecosystem worth quite a bit, and it wouldn't shock me if that was the case with Artifact. So, Any other purchases this week?
Not really. Yeah, mostly been sales. Because in order to buy my monolith, I had to sell some stuff, and I really had to sell some stuff that I like, the projects that are more flippy, the less established projects. I really had to get rid of them at least sometimes. So I was like, you know what, I'll just do it, and
I'm curious what you ended up. What were some of the things, if you don't mind sharing, that you got rid of?
Clay Friends at
Okay.
0.2. I actually got rid of some two of my cool pets, mostly just because I'm
Really?
yeah, I was hard to sell. I'll be honest, that was hard to sell.
Yeah.
I still believe in cool pets and cool cats, their whole ecosystem. But someone swept like 20 of them, so they brought the price up from 1.1 or something to 1.4. So
Okay.
I sold two at 1.4, and then now I think it went back to 1.28 or something. So I was like, yeah, I just need to do it, and then maybe I'll buy back into it when they're closer. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I've picked up a few things this week. I grabbed a couple Dour Darcels just because
Yeah.
I thought they looked cool. So I bought them. I bought two of them on Sunday, and I went a little bit over the floor to find ones that I liked, and those have done well
Hmm.
so far. And then we'll transition right into our recap of the week. I bought 20 of the Gutter Cat juice vials. So I own a
Jeez.
full set of Gutter Cats, so I was already getting four. And I was watching the Dutch auction, and it was very obvious that it was going to go all the way down to 0.1. So for the Gutter Cat gang, this last week they had their Gutter clones are what the project is going to be. So every holder of a Gutter Cat received a corresponding Gutter juice. So if you owned a pigeon, you got a pigeon juice. Cat, rat, dog, the whole thing. So there were 12,000 that were airdropped to holders, because that's how many total pieces there are in the ecosystem. And then an additional 16,000 were up for Dutch auction. So the auction started at 0.9, and the endpoint was 0.1 Ethereum.
Hmm.
So it was very clear that it was going to go to 0.1. So it went to 0.1, and I just decided to grab the max for that transaction. And so far it's done pretty well. So that was one of the Dutch auctions this week. I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Hmm.
I'm looking at the art for a few of them that have been teased on Twitter. They look really cool. I hope this isn't a situation where they're showing the coolest ones and some of the more basic ones are
The
pretty
hype beast.
boring.
What was it called? Hype bears. Oh, sorry.
Hype bears, hate beast,
Pixelmon.
whatever. Oh God, let's not go down that rabbit hole again.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that they all look cool, and the overall like sentiment on Twitter was really positive about them. There were a lot of
Yeah.
people who, it was very clear, had wanted to own some part of Gutter Cat Gang,
Gang gang.
but hadn't been able but hadn't been able to afford it. And
Mm.
this 0.1 entry, as opposed to buying a pigeon,
Yeah.
which is traditionally the cheapest one at like 1 point, it had been up to like 1.3, 1.4, much more palatable for people, especially ones who are new and they see, a project that is fairly established. Gutter Cats
Yeah.
came out a little bit after Bored Apes last year. I believe late June was when they minted. And despite some early problems, they've done really well. And so it's been fun to see the number of people who are like excited about getting, to be in the Gutter Cat Gang. So I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. I think it speaks volumes for not only Gutter Cat Gang, but also the fact that, some of these projects, we've discussed it before, maybe higher mint count is the way to go. Higher
Yeah.
mint count with a lower price. Like point one isn't cheap, but for a project that's been around and it's their second entry point, it's very reasonable.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the species, like cat and pigeon, or just like aesthetic?
So there is a difference as far as what you've gotten out of it. Like if you
Yeah.
owned a cat, you received a rat early on, and then you received a mint pass for a pigeon. They've
Okay.
teased that coming up with like the token drop, and there's going to be a game as well focused, called Gang Wars. That owning an original cat is going to have added value, similar to how BAYC is teased that owning an ape versus a mutant will have some additional value. So that has yet to be seen. You're kind of just banking on the fact that the team has said that would be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm interested to see, as far as I know, there's not going to be any difference in a
The
gutter,
clone?
a clone between the different rarities, right? Or between the different species.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be any difference there, but it's going to be a part of their Gang Wars game. So
Okay.
interested to see how that one plays out.
So the 20 you bought, are they
Mm-hmm.
random, like a random species?
Yeah, so they all revealed the other day. I think I
Oh.
received a disproportionate amount of the pigeons, which are the cheapest ones. And I think of the 20 I got, I ran bad on dogs. I only got two dogs of those 20, which from a probability standpoint is not great. But whatever, I got a bunch of them. I'll probably sell some before reveal. The
Yeah.
actual reveal of the clones is a few weeks away, so my thought process right now is there was this big hype as soon as the reveal of what type you had happened. I think over the next week or two, we may see the floor come back down and provide another good entry point. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the pigeons came down to like 0.12, 0.13, and then I think it'll ramp back up in the days leading up to, when they turn on the revealing mechanisms. So just something to keep in mind if you were thinking about getting into this, maybe it goes down, maybe it goes up. I would lean toward it going back down a little bit before anything crazy happens.
Definitely. It's nice to see some more action around the Gutter Cat gang in general because I feel like they might have been a little bit overshadowed by like for example Bored Ape because I
Board
believe that
Ape, Cool Cat.
yeah, because I believe they had a huge run up a little bit after the mint, right, or like at least maybe some period after. But I
Gutter,
remember
Gutter
that
Cat Gang did.
yeah, but maybe I'm just uh, like have a really wrong memory, but because
So what happened? They had some issues with their minting initially. There
mm-hmm.
was like a set day and time that the mint was going to start, but some people were able to get in early. So the
Ooh,
project did not start off well, and that was one of
yeah.
the reasons why I didn't mint off the bat, because I was like, well, that didn't go well. They're disorganized, yada yada yada. But they fought through it, like, and the community continued to grow and be really strong. One thing that always concerned me about the project was how small it was. There's
Mm.
only 3,000 gutter cats, and in turn,
Wow.
there's only 3,000 of every other species. So, a total of 12K. And the people who own them usually own sets, and a lot of people own multiple sets. So the number of unique holders was really low, which is not a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so this ability for people to get in and expand the number of holders is really good. I was kind of annoyed to see like some whales buying up like hundreds of them. Like there's a guy Dingaling. If you've been around for a while, you probably know of him. He bought
Mm-hmm.
220 of these, and I'm just like, dude, I know that you love to flex and to show off how much money you have, but like, let some other people in, for God's sake.
Was
That's
it all in
just
secondary, or did they all like did he just max
no.
mint
He
the hell
he
out of
mint
it
he max minted 11 times.
at point one or
I think so. He
did
didn't
it
say
did
in his he didn't say how many, like what price for all of them, but all he said was he got 220 of them.
Jeez, is that so? I assume that's now minted out, right? The
Oh yeah,
however many there were.
yeah. Going into the point one level of the Dutch auction, there were only a couple hundred that minted, and then as soon as
Oh,
it hit
okay.
point one,
Boom.
the other 16 or 15 or so thousand were gone in like 5 minutes.
It's nice to see
Like,
finally that a Dutch auction works as intended, right?
yeah, yeah. Let's go into some other Dutch auctions that may not have worked as intended. So one of the big pieces this week was Friendswithyou. Daniel, have you been keeping up on this?
I've seen the drama and I've seen the Twitter accounts talking about it. From all I know is that they started at a, was it a 4.2? Well, at least they wanted to start at a 4.2 Dutch auction,
Yeah.
and yeah, that got met with some negative responses to put it lightly.
Yeah. Apparently, the guys behind the projects have been around for quite a while, like in the art scene, but they haven't really put out any NFT projects yet. So their initial, or they have one that's like a mint pass. It's like a gold. Their logo is a cloud, and their like gold cloud mint pass is like
Yeah.
2.6 ETH is what's going for right now. So there are a lot of people who push back on this like really high starting point. I think seeing other projects with high starting points on their Dutch auctions or their just general sales led to pushback in the community, and it was met with a lot of influencers who are buddies with these guys
Yeah.
were very vocal about it. You had guys like Farouk, who
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even talk about that guy. Other artists in the space and photographers were like, it's their art, they can charge whatever they want. And I'm just like, okay, they absolutely can do that. But the people in the community can also say what they want to about it and say that it seems like a cash grab. With that, the mechanism of the Dutch auction was pretty ridiculous. The way they had it outlined was that it was going to go down from 4.2, it was going to go down zero point 0.1 Ethereum every 30 minutes. But if a sale occurred in the last 5 minutes of that level, the clock was going to be reset for another 5 minutes. So it's just like, this is going to be the longest Dutch auction ever. Like, this would go on for days. And we saw it with the 888 Dutch auction that they had that was going to start at like 11. I don't think people are really in the mood for these super expensive Dutch auctions where people are trying to make $100 million or $50 million off the community based off of not having any other NFTs out in the market before. There also was some really condescending tweets put out by the team and by the founders that really turned me off. One of them basically saying, it's not like we ask you guys how much money you make and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but we're not trying to sell people an NFT for $10,000. So I think that was a really big misstep on their point. And the same influencers who, wanted to talk a bunch of shit beforehand, all of a sudden got really, really quiet when, the founders started to step in it.
Yeah. What I personally found to be really weird is that they were so like their official Twitter account, they were like tagging people and posting screenshots and saying, "Oh wow, these people flooding us, they are now buying the passes on OpenSea and stuff." And I was just like, you really shouldn't like interact with these people as a project. There's no real gain for like posting about it and like whining about it on Twitter like as an official project. Like, it's just a really bad look in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Also they lost favor with the Bored Ape community because some stuff got pulled up where they were agreeing with a well-known BAYC hater, the guy who has accused the BAYC team of anti-Semitism. So that was not a good look. That did not ingratiate them to the community. So they said they were going to lower the starting price to 3.3. I haven't really heard much since. I think they've kind of gone to the radio silence strategy to see if they can just let this simmer before they make their next move. So that was a Dutch auction this week that hasn't gone particularly well. Let's go to maybe the most hilarious part of the last week, which was the Tai Lopez Dutch auction. I'm going to pull up now the website. Daniel, you start talking about this one because I want people to know the experiences that were being minted here.
Yeah, it was definitely something. If you don't know Tai Lopez, at this point I don't even know if he's a real businessman or a real like what do you call it, like someone to give advice or whatever. I guess scammer is a good way to put it. He's known from like a really, really old video from like ages ago where he's like promoting his like course or something in his garage, and it starts off saying like, here in my garage, like I got my car behind me and like knowledge or something. Like, it's a really old classic video. And he was minting off some like mint passes with like experiences bound to them, and they
No,
go from. Oh yeah.
it was a reverse Dutch auction, Daniel.
Oh yeah.
So it was starting at like 6 ETH, and then instead of going down, the prices would go up.
Okay.
So explain that one to me.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know how that works, but
yeah, it
but
made
yeah,
no sense. It didn't mint out. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just find
that's
this
good.
so ridiculous. Did you see what the experiences were?
I saw some, and they range from playing chess with him to having some of his favorite signed books or something.
Yeah, there was. You could watch a movie with him.
Oh, yeah.
He got to
And
choose the movie though, and it was
yeah.
no longer than 2 hours. So you could watch a movie with him. VIP table at a club, because that sounds like a great time. Go to the gym and work out with him was another one. Access to his phone number for WhatsApp. I mean, talk about just an absolutely ridiculous NFT project.
Yeah,
This is
but
why people laugh at us.
yeah, exactly. But also one thing that's really weird is a lot of these things are is once a year, but it's not once a year. It's once a year or something. And I'm not even sure what that means.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows what this means. It's just, you know, this was hilarious over the weekend. And I will say the best thing that came out of it was the
The
content
blockchain.
on Twitter, because it was just, oh boy, it was a very entertaining few days on Twitter hearing about Tai Lopez. And I hate to bring him back up, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who may not have been aware about this. But, he's going to be speaking at like the Miami
Oh
NFT
God,
conference, which is
yeah.
just an absolute seems like
Why?
an absolute joke of a conference. It's going to be him. It's going to be Mark Cuban, who we've talked about Mark Cuban's NFT involvement and
God.
how that has been suspect at best. So not not super enthused and not bummed out that I'm missing Miami NFT this
Yeah.
year.
Who's next? Beanie?
Oh God, did you? Okay, so did you see his new
The
project?
the Putin inspired.
Yeah, so Beanie is starting up a new NFT project. He got exposed for being a scammer, which a lot of us already knew. He like took a few weeks off from Twitter just to, let everyone forget about it, and then he came back and he's launching this new project. So, he's talked how when he was involved with Pixel Vault, he said it was going to be the next Marvel, and now
Mhm.
he's no longer involved in Pixel Vault. He's starting his own project, and it's called Endgame. And I just find it really ironic that he talks about how he was building something to be the next Marvel, and
Yeah.
then the name of his next project, he steals the title of the biggest Marvel movie of all time.
I
I
wonder
just
if that's
find
allowed, even to be fair.
I don't know if Endgame is trademarked, but I just find the irony in that to
Yeah.
be really, really funny,
Yeah.
because he's kind of a joke.
Yeah. So what's weird about it is that I believe he said it's free and it's free to claim for Look Labs holders or something.
Uh huh.
Um, but yeah, I wonder how that ties in because Look Labs kind of distanced themselves from Beanie. At least like we don't agree with his viewpoints, blah blah blah. So I wonder how this all is gonna work because he has the word Look Labs on all of the images on the end game stuff. So I really wonder what it's gonna be. I still hold one Look Labs pass, and I sold two,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, they had a huge run up as well. They were down to point 0.4 or something, went up to point 0.8 or something yesterday.
All right, they're up to like point 0.8 now.
Yeah, do you still have some or not?
I have one of the green game passes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, me too. I'm holding
I
mine for the minting stuff. I'm just gonna play with it, I think.
Yeah, I bought it just because I saw someone else talking about it, because that's I'm really good at this.
Nice
Uh,
research.
yeah, good research right there. So let's get into what has kind of taken over Twitter the last 24 hours, and that is the news dropped by BAYC. So yesterday afternoon, BAYC put out a tweet where they shared a link to fill out some information. They're partnering with Animoca Brands, who is doing their play to earn game. But this announcement wasn't related to that. It wasn't related to Ape Token. They didn't really give any information about
Yeah.
it. One of the problems with it is that you had to go to a website and you had to do a KYC, a know your customer, where you had to put in an unbelievable amount of personal information. You had to put in a shot of your like driver's license or your passport. You had to provide a selfie, a lot of info. and this rubbed people the wrong way. So before I go on my diatribe here, Daniel, I want you to, I want to hear your thoughts on it, and then I'll talk because I got a
Yeah,
lot to
my
say.
thoughts is I saw it on Twitter and I was like, are they hacked again? Like, so but yeah, I was like, okay, well, I guess it was real. So I went to the website and I was like, okay, seems fair. Like, I don't personally don't care too much about KYC, because I pay my taxes. I'm a good boy, but like a lot of people don't, just because they've never like withdrawn their Ethereum to their like bank account or all that stuff. But yeah, for me the whole process didn't really work. The KYC didn't even like work 'cause I had to like scan my ID, and that just took forever and ended up not working. But I saw a lot of like upset people about it on Twitter, and the main part that I didn't really like is that they require KYC but don't even say what it's about. It seems kind of like dangerous, right?
Yeah, it seems this is a big misstep by the
Mm.
team, in my opinion. Did you have anything else you want to say about it before I go on my
No,
10
you can
minute
you can you
rant?
can carry on. You can carry on.
Okay. So this seemed like a big misstep. I will say that like I'm also not particularly concerned about KYC or being doxxed. Obviously, I'm on a YouTube show 2 days a week for God's sake. So being doxxed is an issue for me. Providing information is an issue for me. Not being told what it's about is an issue, but it's not the biggest one. And
Mm.
here's where my biggest concerns lie. And if you follow me on Twitter, if you watch this show, you know that I'm a big BAYC fan. Been involved in the project since last May. It's become like a really, I interact with like other apes and mutants and everyone like on a regular basis on Twitter. But for the first time, I am having some doubts. And the reason being is not the KYC portion. It's the fact that in that tweet thread, the team mentioned that they're not fans of KYC, but Animoca is making them do it, and so they're doing it. And for me, when you're BAYC and you're trying to build this global brand, and you start compromising your beliefs and your values, that is maybe one of the biggest red flags you can see. And it gives me a feeling that, the team behind it, who I have stood behind and I have supported and I believed in from the get-go, is starting to see a little bit of cracks in their armor and are being, coerced or feeling the need to do things that were against their original values. That is not a good sign, in my opinion. If this is just the first step in a slippery slope, and we see it in a lot of different areas of culture, in TV, music, movies, brands start off being cool and they start making compromises to appeal to more people or because they're being influenced by new people who are advising them. And the next thing you know, they're not cool anymore and
Yeah.
people don't want to be involved in it. And so I'm really frustrated and annoyed with the fact that the founders claim that they don't like KYC. Well, guess what? BAYC is the biggest brand in NFTs and Web3 right now. If this is purely being pushed on you by Animoca, find a different partner. Like, I'm sorry, Animoca I'm sure is big, but they're not that big. It's not
Mm.
like you're dealing with Apple or Microsoft here. Like, this is not that big of a brand that you're partnering with. And I know that they've probably put money and time into it, but in my opinion, if you're going to go out and you're going to go against your values and what you believe in, that is the first step to the wheels coming off and this going extremely poorly. So I hope that they provide some sort of response here in the coming days and some sort of description of what's going on and a rationale behind it. But if they continue to stay quiet and not really share anything else because they're trying to hype this up, that gives me a lot of pause onto whether or not I'm going to continue to hold so
Yeah.
many BAYC pieces.
I think it's scary to have uncertainty at this level of investment, because I think if so, let's say apes at 80 ETH, right? If there's a lot of people that are uncertain at that price, I think it'll see like a huge decline compared to, let's say, if apes are like point 20, and then there's uncertainty, I think that effect, like the percentual like decrease is much less. So I wonder. I hope they clarify at least.
Yeah, I hope they do too, and I hope
Yeah.
that they're able to bounce back because it's been a tough scene, and there are a lot of people. And I will say, I do appreciate the fact that like so many other members of Board Ape Yacht Club who have
Yeah.
a lot of money invested in this have been very outspoken and have been against it. There has not been a whole ton of people like trying to put a positive spin on it just to try to protect their
Yeah.
bags. I think that we're seeing that people really care about this project and the community and want it to do well and don't want to see it get totally fucked up. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I'm frustrated. I'm concerned about it, and I for the first time, have my doubts. So
Yeah. Well,
there's
let's hope.
I'm fudding my own bags, everyone.
Yes, this
I've been
time.
accused of FUD by a lot of people. Now I'm doing it to myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I hope that on Tuesday, over the weekend, we maybe hear some more and we can give another update.
Yeah.
Definitely it seems like a big ticket item going over the weekend, and yeah, I hope they figure it out. I hope they provide more clarity, more reasoning behind why they bend over backwards for their KYC. And let's just hope it's not like a scenario where it's like they give a finger and they take a whole arm, like Animoca.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think the Animoca is a great studio, but I think they could, they definitely they could have anything, honestly.
Yeah.
BAYC, I mean.
Yeah, this is a mistake on their part, but I hope they can fix it. So we have, seen overall a positive trend in the market. There's been a lot of green lately. Have you been paying attention to what's been going up? I know we've seen new projects like Cyber Brokers and the Dower Darsals and Quirkies. Those all have been going up. What do you feel like is, causing this besides the fact that like maybe people are starting to calm down a little bit and,
I
there's a little
wonder.
bit of things smoothing out just a touch?
I wonder. I don't think there's anything that I can really pinpoint that caused this. Um, Maybe it's just that. Yeah, I don't know. It seemed pretty like from one day to the next, and suddenly volume is pumping. We're
Yeah.
seeing on a 24-hour, I wouldn't call it a candle, but like on a 24 like hour
Out
time
the
period, we're
chart.
seeing,
Mhm.
yeah, well, it's not even really charts, it's like numbers on OpenSea. But there's a lot of green, and like floors looking up, volumes like looking up as well. And I wonder, do you have any idea why that might be?
I think there was so much fear and uncertainty over the issue, everything going on in Ukraine. And, there was this period of a couple weeks where people were scared. Understandably, they wanted to get their money out. And I think you had, part of it was quite a few people who were over invested just decided that they couldn't handle seeing the numbers go down.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to call them paper handed. I'm just going to say some people started getting out because they wanted to put their money elsewhere, maybe in stable coins.
Oh,
Maybe they
wheat.
wanted to hide it in their mattress. Maybe they wanted to buy wheat. Maybe they wanted gold. I don't know. But we had people who weren't in it for the long haul get out, and that gave an opportunity for either new people or
Yeah.
more seasoned holders to pick up at a good price. I do. I will give some of the credit to Guttercat as well. Like I think they brought a
They did
re-energized
it.
marketplace going. Like there's a ton of excitement, and I think that if you see excitement in one community,
Yeah.
it transitions over to other ones being like, okay, we can, other people are doing this, we can get involved in this, let's get our own projects, yada yada yada. So I do think that a rising tide raises all ships, and that's what we're seeing happening here. And I hope it carries over into a big weekend, and that we can see that those numbers continue to stay green.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So one thing that I noticed is that there isn't at least maybe like at least I couldn't notice one. There doesn't seem to be a particular trend in terms of which projects go up, which projects have gone up over the last day. The only thing I noticed over the last week is utility passes seem to do pretty well. So like a bunch of like alpha groups passes, a bunch of like mint passes. They tend to do pretty well, or they have done pretty well over the last
Hmm.
week. But from today and yesterday, I couldn't really spot anything like out of the ordinary. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I know the cyber brokers. That's another one that's done
Yep.
really well. They minted out about a week ago, and I think it took a few days for it to fully mint out. But they were going for 0.35, and as of right now, they're in like the low threes. They got up into the low to mid fours yesterday. Those are pretty cool looking, and they are created by a fairly established member, NFT artist, or sorry, yeah, NFT artist, who
Hmm.
this is her first PFP project. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy at this level. I still think there's a little room for it to pull back, but
Yeah.
they're building, their own story and everything behind it, and I think that that's always interesting to see if that plays out. The quirkies have been going crazy, so I, I guess I'll pump my own bags. I own a few of the
Uh
quirkies.
oh.
I bought them like a month ago when they
Yeah.
were around like 0.12, and this was one where I didn't know if they were going to be worth anything, but I just thought they looked fun and they gave me like positive vibes. So I was like, I'll pick up a handful of these. And then they just started to take off. So, that was very fortunate timing on my part. I've sold a few on the way up to cover my cost basis, and I think I sold like three of them. So, those have been doing well. Uh, God, I'm I'm not sure what to think about cool pets. I know you're talking about like selling a couple of years. It's tough because you want to give the team the benefit of the doubt,
Hmm.
especially when they're trying to do something so ambitious. And there have been a lot of very outspoken people on social media about like, give them time, which I get. But man, they have not delivered really anything. This
Yeah.
whole situation has been really bad.
Yeah. They
And
posted an update yesterday, I think.
did they? What do you have the gist of that?
The gist of it is that Polygon is looking up, but they're still working on like the closed beta and more tests and more tests. And I was like, all right, I don't see this happening anytime soon, which is sad because and the point that made me sell as well is that they said they were essentially ready. They were ready, but the only thing stopping them was the Polygon chain. And now suddenly there's like, oh yeah, we need to do more tests and the in-game stuff and the questing isn't ready. And I was like, okay, well that seems entirely different than just Polygon issues, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's the communication has been really bad, and we're seeing. I guess that's another theme of this week has been bad communication, whether it's from Bored Apes, whether it's from Cool Cats or Friendswithyou. Like communication amongst these projects, it's very very important. I think if you're starting a new NFT project, you should probably have someone who's in charge of communicating, on Twitter and in Discord because and have
100%.
them be like good at it, you know, because sentiment is very dictated by the communication with your holders. And so if you can't do that well, you are setting yourself up for a lot of unnecessary headaches.
Yeah. One person that does this extremely well, and I'm also pumping my own bags here, just like
Of
quick
course you are. That's what we do. That's what we do.
FYI. Come on, man.
It's a bag
Um,
pumping hour with Dan and
it,
JWeb.
we can change the show name, but it's NFT Llama from Llamaverse.
Yeah.
If you go into the server and then check out the announcements channel,
I mean, llamas are notoriously known for being good communicators.
is that true?
I don't know, Dan. I'm just making
Ah,
shit
cool.
up as we
Oh,
go.
I thought you did. I thought it was some random fact you knew. All right. Well, maybe they do, right? Maybe like just the way they like do the spitting at each other or something to
Yeah.
convey
There you
information.
go.
But yeah, it's just so much information every single day. He's like gives an update. He has like a dedicated channel for his developer. He gives updates now and then on like the technical aspect of things, and it's great. It's so much information that they're giving, and it's really nice to see sometimes because I swear to God, like poor communication is like the theme of the year always. Like it always happens. Every single, well, not every single, but so many projects over the course of the nice all the llamas, Kevin.
All the llamas.
Like so many projects that just struggle to communicate and just. I think it's just because they don't allocate a person to like the role or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That needs to happen moving forward. So I think that is a good place for us to stop today. We've rambled on for long enough. I went on my little diatribe that I wanted to say today. So we really appreciate everyone joining. As always, we'll be back on Tuesday with a recorded show. If you have any questions for us, please drop them in the comments of any of our videos. Shoot them over to us on Twitter or Discord. We're always here to help. So for Daniel Vondelok, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend.
All right, bye bye.